And welcome back to day 20 of Survivor 50 Seasons in 50 Days. I just finished watching Survivor Heroes versus Villains. For me, and I feel like a lot of people, the bookend on the that old school version of the show, the best version of the show. And so we'll kind of talk everything about that. And I've got thoughts finally. After 16 years, I have negative thoughts. Going from bottom. Well, don't worry. Here's still. Come on.
Don't
We
scare me like
have
that.
returning from the last time I did this. We have Michael Schaefer, who did the Philippines. I want to say the last time. Laura is a first-time joiner for the marathon, and then John Buckley. John Buckley was the very first person to come on the Survivor Borneo recap when I did 42 seasons in 42 days 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. I'm so glad to have him back for this final time of doing the marathon and in a season that many people look at as the greatest season of all time. I'll start, Buckley, I'll start with you. What has made HVV withstand the test of time? Like, why do people continue to put it at the top when we have had really great seasons past this? Why do you think that it has always remained up there?
I mean, it's a bunch of different things. I mean, it has. I mean, not to like shade 50, but now that it's over, I'm going to like. Even today, it puts every returning player season to shame because the casting is perfect. Like aside from Candace, but like the casting is perfect.
We'll
like,
get there.
We'll get to Candace.
We'll
but
get
like,
to Candace.
But like every person proved why they're there. Every person is, like somebody that at that point in Survivor, like they were like a big name. Like people, when they thought of Survivor, they thought of Rupert and Parvati and,
The captain of
Colby
sports.
and Jerry, all these people. And then the storytelling of the season is so like hooking. And the fact that it's the only time you can, I think in Survivor, you have no swap, and it's perfect with no swap because of the ebb and flow of everything, just how it wraps together. I think start to finish, it's an untouchable season based off of just how it flows.
And so going to Schaefer, when the cast was first announced, or I don't know, did you watch the season live?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so when the cast was announced, were there any, and this is not a knock on Tiffany because I loved her in 50 and I loved her in her first season, but were there any those types of players on the cast was like, oh, okay, that's random. I wonder, Parvati and Micronesia. I feel like Parvati Micronesia was one of those people. It's like, oh, her, but okay, cool. Was there anyone here for that? For Heroes vs. Villains for you?
I mean, Candace is the obvious first option. Like, why was she here? Especially on the Heroes tribe. I think there was a couple people that they kind of got the tribes wrong. Like Candace, obviously, Sugar should not have been on the Heroes tribe if she was going to be there. Danielle, a little bit. I understand, but like, it was definitely like a interesting pick. I think there are other options that they maybe could have had instead. But at the end of the day, it still is a really, really strong cast on paper.
Laura, what does Heroes vs. Villains fall for you? Just all time. You mentioned the big reason why you want to do this one, but you obviously are a fan of the season as well. Where does it kind of fall for you all time?
All time, I would still argue it's the best season. There were just enough idle plays. There were just enough twists. The strategies that people used were either the same or different, depending on if they were looking for redemption or looking to do the exact same thing because it did well in their first season. And I think editing did a very good job in terms of making the viewers think that Parvati was going to win, but Sandra ended up pulling out the win in the end. And they also did a really good job of highlighting Russell's attributes and his ability to play the game. I mean, he was a 2-time finalist, yeah, but he was also an ass. And I think that editing did a great job all around with the storytelling that they did. So I would give this a 10 out of 10.
And speaking of 10, it is crazy that, and they mentioned this at the beginning of this season, through the last 10 years, and it's like, at this point, we are 10 years into the show's history, which obviously for me is the span of like 2.5 weeks, but just so much has happened at that point that basically all three of you have kind of said this is basically the perfect cast to encapsulate everything that has happened. Yes, there are people that kind of stand out as like, why are they here? But there is nothing so overly egregious as far as the players, not the tribes that they're on, that's like, does this person really represent the first 20 seasons, the first 10 years of the show? Which is something that 50, like, is the very glaring error with 50 because they skipped a 10-year period, or not 10 years, skipped a 10-season period when it came to casting for 50. We're going to start off with Rupert because for the third season in a row, Rupert in Pearl Islands, I think he thought he was actually a pirate. In All Stars, I think he really bought into the All-Star hype. And in Heroes versus Villains, I know that Prod is probably sitting there egging people on to say, hey, bring up the fact that the good guys, bad guys. Rupert's the only one that actually feels like he believes that these villains are actual, murders and everything else. John Buckley, we're now 3 seasons into the Rupert legacy. Where does Rupert go for you? Like, did you like him and then it kind of changed over time? Have you always been a Rupert person?
Rupert's one of the first people that, like, obviously, like, I grew up like as Survivor. Like, I'm 27. Survivor is on year 26, so like it quite literally like has progressed in my life. Rupert was the first person that the earliest person I remember them being on the show. Like, I remember Rupert and Sandra on Pearl Islands. The only things I remember from Pearl Islands was them two as a kid. And like he is like a really good character. God awful at Survivor. God awful at the game. Like, and like early seasons is not really as much about the gameplay, but like by this point in time, the gameplay kind of was an evolving, crucial, like it had overtook the survival aspect by this point in the show. And Rupert is just like the last time I watched Heroes versus Villains, I just wanted him to shut the fuck up, to be honest with you. Like I was so over it by the merge. Like, I was like, we could have had Suri. We could have had Tom Westman talking. No, we have fucking Rupert talking. Like, I'm not keen on him.
And it's funny because every other time I've done this, Rupert fatigue is a phrase that I will use, especially when I hit Heroes versus Villains. I would say that today, for some reason, and we're going to talk a little bit about it as the season progresses, but Rupert's right about a lot of things that are happening here. And I hate that. And I use the same thing with Coach, another person that I'm not a fan of. It's like, wow, but Coach is kind of right here. And it sucks that I have to say this and sit here and admit that these people that I'm not a fan of, and they're basically the same character, just good and bad, that I have to sit there and be like, okay, maybe this is actually my favorite version of Rupert. And I would actually say after this is done, this is my favorite version of Rupert, despite the fact there are still Rupert-isms that occur, especially
absolutely not.
Schaefer, one of the things that this season does very well from jump, we have All-Stars, they're coming in on the boat and they're pretending like they don't know who's there and who's not there. Here's what's Villain still kind of does that, but with helicopters and with an opening challenge that I feel like to this day, with the exception of the Pearl Islands opening challenge, if you want to call it that, is the greatest opening challenge in the history of the show, and something that I think they can get away with doing again, and obviously there are legit reasons why they probably can't. What did you think of the premiere as a whole, not getting to the actual boot, just the opening reward challenge, watching these players interact with each other, and the immunity challenge?
I do think in terms of premieres, like if you're ranking like all the premieres that Survivor's had over 50 seasons, I do think this one, to me, by far is the best one. It does a great job introducing everybody. You have the big challenge where you have multiple injuries in the first challenge, and then even all the camp life, you get a piece of every person who's in the game at that point. Like, I don't think they could have did it better. Like 50, I think, was probably the next closest best one because at the same time, they also gave everybody enough screen time. But I feel this Heroes versus Villains did a great job getting us right into the season and kicking off what should have been the best season.
I have in my notes Stephanie's injury, yawn. But it was, yes, it was, it was,
Well, Rupert got hurt too.
it was a great challenge, and we have one of the season's very memeable. Once again, I think this is like the 20th day in a row I've done this, but shout out friend of the podcast, Mario Lanza, for his 2115, because the sugar double bird after having her bra ripped off is just such amazing television and just sets the stage for everything that we're about to, what we hope that everything we're about to get. Laura, it's kind of the same question as asked Schaefer. What are some of your favorite moments from that premiere? Not, once again, not talking about the boot that happens. Like what when you think Survivor 20 premiere, what are the things that stand out to you?
Well, I think the first thing that has already kind of been talked about and mentioned is Stephanie's shoulder injury, right? So she gets injured, they pop her shoulder back in, she continues to compete. We think that's it. We think like that's the end of it. But then you fast forward all of these years from then and you get to season 50 and, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, but if you haven't, then why are you watching this podcast? She talks about how that injury ended up affecting her long term. And she talks about the fact that in the challenge she has to do where she holds her arm up for an hour, that her shoulder might give out because of that injury. And so something that looks like a really innocuous injury to us at the time, because they're able to just pop it right back into place and she just keeps going and she powers through it, that kind of turns into a more powerful moment on rewatch because now you know how it affected her long term. But I mean, Sugar being topless, I'll never complain about that.
Yeah, absolutely not. And also, you can just Google it. But then before I get to before I get to John, I want to say, because I started this while 50 was still, I started the marathon while 50 was still airing. It is kind of funny looking at, the players that are here that are also in 50, because now not only do I have the benefit of hindsight, I also have the benefit of foresight, I guess, because that we're going to get Stephanie, Sari, and Colby back this season. I think, is that everyone?
And
yeah.
Coach.
Coach.
Yeah. And Coach. See how much I've blocked him out. But it is kind of funny to think about where they end up as compared to where they are here, which are four of the bigger names in the show's history. When Stephanie's saying, "Oh, Rupert wants me out because he feels like I'm stealing his popularity or whatever," it's like, okay, yeah, but at the time, Stephanie was America's sweetheart. After Rupert was America's sweetheart, it makes sense that she would kind of feel that Rupert thinks that she's kind of stealing his thunder. If they did America's Tribal Council again, Rupert's not going to win another $1 million. For some reason, Russell Hantz will. So, and we'll get to that now because, John, this is the second day in a row that I've had to sit here and watch, as Courtney Yates called him, a bandy leg little troll, someone that just inherently does not understand the game of Survivor. He understands bullying, and he understands strategy, turned up to 11. When I play orgs and I see players that feel like, oh yeah, all I have to do is find idols and do this and I'll be fine. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll just let you kind of do that. Sorry. I'll just kind of let you do that and understand that people will probably hate you by the end of it. John, Hantz Mania, you would have been what? 7?
I was 10, I want to say. I think I turned 11 during Heroes versus Villains, I think.
Okay, so were you bought into Hantz Mania at this point? Because I can understand, okay, go ahead. What's your relationship with Russell Hantz?
I mean, okay, we should know by now that I'm a girl's girl. I'm gonna root for the girls, and I remember.
Didn't know.
I remember when Samoa happened. The sentiment between my mom and I was he's an absolute asshole, but on but like all things considered, out of the three, he played the better game than the three. Still lost to Natalie because the one part of the game
in a blowout
because he sucks at the social part of life, not even Survivor, just in general, just speaking to people. Like, I've seen stuff outside of this. He's just a lovely individual. But like, Heroes versus Villains, it was kind of like interesting to see how he was going to stack up, because people, like, for example, like Sugar, Sugar was a massive, name. She was a massive part of Gabon, and then she got swallowed up immediately by these, people. So like, it's kind of like a perspective thing. Like, you can be really good in X group, but you can be really good in Y group. So there was a lot of put up and shut up with Russell, but unfortunately, Russell was what 2010 reality TV wanted. Russell was that like dynamic, like mob wives kind of character that like didn't care. He had to burn people's socks. He hid the machete. He had his dumb girl alliance. Like, and of the time, that was kind of like the thing. I was never a fan of.
It's funny that he's saying dumbass girls, and it's like, is it? Is that fun? Even then, it was like, what is this?
It's patronizing, and like, I mean, even it looks worse. My thing with Russell is, one, had Samoa been season 18 and not 19, Russell would not have done nearly as well. I'm convinced if the cast had seen his game, he would not have done nearly as well. So he's lucky in that he played back to back. I think he's very lucky that he had that, because I don't think his game of Heroes versus Villains would have gotten him as far. But Russell's inability to understand how Survivor works at the end of the day is something that's always frustrated me about him. And also, I never liked how he talked to Parvati. Parvati was my girl then. She's still my girl now. I was never a fan of how he thought that he like had one up or like owned Parvati when he never really did. So
his face when she calls him a pet at Final Tribal, it's like, yeah, because you were. Like, she put up with your shit, but like she was doing this to you. This is not you doing this to her. And this is why, like, and I think it's because this is the last time that I'm doing this like this. It is so frustrating. It's so frustrating that he is still high, and this is one of the downsides to Heroes vs. Villains that I can finally admit. He hijacks so much screen time, and somehow it's not as bad as Samoa, but it's still pretty bad. We get a lot of Russell Hand's confessionals this season. Meanwhile, Courtney Yates, whether you like her or not, and I'm a big Courtney Yates person, gets 4 confessionals, and the funniest one is probably the secret 5th one that's in the hidden scenes where she does the Russell thing again. Tyson, who even if you don't like Tyson and Tocantins, Tyson's very funny. We get no confessionals from Tyson for mostly until he goes home. And we're not halfway done with Hans Mania now, because we've only gotten him twice. We're going to get him 1 more time, his nephew 2 more times, and his brother and big brother once. So we're what, a quarter of the way, or a third, whatever it is, away through Hans Mania, and it's fun. Like, it's not fun. It's interesting going back and reading posts from 2010 of people like thinking he's the greatest thing to ever happen to the show. And for me, watching it today, Survivor jumped the shark in this season because of how much the emphasis they put on Russell Hanson 19 and 20, because he comes in and he says, now that I'm playing with people that actually understand the game, like I've got no problem. I'm going to win this, and I'm going to whip these all-stars, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be the greatest player ever. And he ends up getting 2 less votes at the end than he did when he played with alleged bozos. Michael Schaefer, when I asked you what season, you said, you want to do Heroes versus Villains, and you said, because I want to kind of point out my qualms with Heroes versus Villains. Without going too deep into all of it, because we're going to talk about all of it tonight, what's the main point of why Heroes versus Villains is not your number 1? I don't know where it falls on your list, but what are the issues for you with it? And is it a Russell problem?
No, it's not a Russell problem. I get a lot of flack because I keep Heroes vs. Villains out of my top 5 of all-time seasons, and it is mostly just from the fact once Rob goes home, and I'll try not to give away too much. Once Rob goes home, the season, besides one more episode, to me, is just not very good. Like, it's boring. It gets predictable. You have maybe 1 or 2 things happen, but besides that, it's just it's not a satisfying finish to the season, and it is way too long. Where it's not like it starts going downhill at like 7 or 6. It is like 5-12. It starts like up to that point. It is fantastic. After that, I just don't watch it.
And we'll because I feel like all of us probably disagree, but I understand where you're coming from, and I do think there is a good point there. Laura, the other person, I talked about this during Token Cheens, how last summer during the filming of Survivor New York, I told Jordan Kalish and everyone that would listen, if Coach won season 50, I would never watch Survivor again. And then Coach got eliminated, and immediately started hitting up all of you saying, hey, the marathon's coming back. What season do you want? For me, this is the best version of Coach because I feel like this is the closest to Ben Wade that we are ever going to get on the show. Laura, what is your relationship with Coach through his 4 seasons? Were you a Coach person? Are you one of these people that thinks he's actually a good player, or do you like him because he's a character?
So I have never been a Coach person. Ever. I've never bought into the hype. I have always wanted to see Ben play. The whole premise that he stands for, which is honor and integrity, that's great until you dangle money in front of people's faces. I mean, this is a game for $1 million. People are going to lie. People are going to steal. People are going to do whatever they can to win. And so honor and integrity, are fantastic. But at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do. And something that I love about Heroes versus Villains that I will forever talk about is the moment at the very end, right before FTC, where Sandra says, you know what? Russell likes to hide this this big bald spot that he has that I've seen a bunch of times over the last few days. So I'm going to burn his hat. And she throws it in the fire. And I mean, that's not necessarily gameplay in and of itself, because at that point, it's just up to FTC. And yeah, it may have messed with his mentality going into it, but that's also the mentality these Survivor players have to go in with, which is that you have to do whatever you have to do in order to win this money. So Coach having this whole moral compass and judging based on that, him giving his vote to Parv because she's a warrior and she proved him wrong and everything like that. I mean,
King Arthur's journey has finally ended. Is, as much as I don't like Coach, that's one of my favorite voting confessionals because of the sound effects and everything. It's just, this is peak Benjamin Coach Wade. Question, because for me, I think I only know Natalie Bolton. Like, off the top of my head, I don't know any alternates on the season. The only reason I know Natalie Bolton is because of the cast photo.
Shane Powers was supposed to be on. He got bumped for Russell.
There's also been conflicting things that also Penner has also said the same thing as Shane Powers has said as well. So like, there's like a weird like duality where it's like, was it supposed to be Shane or was it supposed to be Jonathan Penner? I know that, let's talk about it. I know Sheehan was asked and declined because of work. I think Kenny from Gabon was an actual alternate. Why are their birthday? Hello? What the hell was that? And I think I also heard somewhere that Parvati and Candace at one point were flipped. But that's all I know.
Yes.
They flipped them because they didn't want Parvati, Amanda, and Surreal on the same tribe again.
Yeah, and
I did.
So yeah, Micro is your season. So going with that, the tribe dynamics, how we have these people split up, which people have kind of alluded to throughout this already. For me, I've never been a Candace person. When we get to Candace's moment a little later in the season, I'm just going to say Candace does Candace things, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Jeff's reasoning for Parvati being on the villain's tribe, which, yes, I feel like she probably would, like, whatever a villain is, yes, sure, put her there. Parvati, you were a part of this alliance that did this, and it's like, yeah, so were two other people on this cast who were on the heroes tribe. And I did this when I talked about Micronesia. Sari was the one that was really pulling a lot of the strings when it came to a lot of the moves they were pulling off, and Amanda's the one that basically made Eric feel like a piece of shit to give the necklace away. If anything, as far as villainous stuff that happened in Micronesia, Parvati's like 4 or 5 in the Black Widow Brigade. Do you put, so this is kind of the Game Changers thing where it's like, okay, Game Changers, really, Haley Ford's here. Do you kind of put any stock into most of the cast, what tribe they're on? It's like, no, these are just two very fun tribes. I don't really give a shit if they are hero or villain.
Are you asking who you asking?
Yeah, John. Yeah, John. That's my. Sorry, that's my.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you brought up my favorite topic. So like with Micro and like how all of that went down, and also too, not even just Micro, but like I feel like their perceptions of who they wanted on what tribe was from like what their like genesis like moment of why they deserved to be on that season. So like 3 was like the, you know, the underdog exile island, you know, like rise to glory, and Amanda was like everybody, like the girl next door in China, and they're always kind of have that light in terms of like the edit and stuff, even though their game in Micro was extremely villainous. Like it was extremely cutthroat. Parvati just got naked in a hot tub with Ozzy and Yule, and then went home at Final 6 in the Cooks, and also masterminded the JP.
She was on the white tribe, so like.
Yeah. Oh well.
I'm kidding.
But then in Micro, they edited her to have like she was the one betraying Ozzy. She was doing this. I mean, obviously we know now that's not necessarily the full truth, but it's not just them, because they completely erase Stephanie's game in Guatemala. They completely act like that Stephanie is this like.
We'll get there.
she was a fill in the blank the entire time in Guatemala, which I kind of lived for. But like, I think if we're going to talk about that, she should have been on the villains. Like, it's hard to make, and that's my one thing with this format. And I know you had asked me today that if anyone is familiar, I know Laura's familiar with it because she's played it, but I host an org online, and coach asked me, he was like, well, are you going to do heroes versus villains? And one of my biggest things with that is like, how do you quantify who's a hero when we're not editing a show? Everybody's lying to each other. Everybody's screwing each other over. There's like, it's like an 80-20 split as to who's like a true hero and who's either indifferent or a villain, because it's just, that's how the game is played. So I think they had to like pull some strings here and there. And don't even get me started on Candace, like, because that don't make no damn sense. And I saw something earlier say,
I want to be the one that talks about Candace.
I saw someone earlier say that Danielle DiLorenzo is not a villain. Danielle DiLorenzo is a villain, and I will stand 10 toes down on that. I love that woman. She's a villain.
I feel like she's a villain in this season. I feel like Danielle in Panama, I feel like she's a villain here because she voted out America's, Great White Hope.
That's exactly why she's a villain.
She's an antagonist. She's an antagonist through and through, though.
Like, I'm a Kasaya historian. They're all antagonists. Kasaya is the OG villains tribe.
Plus 3.
Kasaya's the only. Yes. Sari, you could put Sari on either tribe. But John, I do agree with you that like Because even when JT is doing stuff on the Heroes Tribe, every time there's a recap to an episode, it's like, and then JT, one of the greatest heroes ever, was playing like a villain by like scheming and stuff. It's like, yeah, he good for him. Like, he should be. Cerise doing the same thing. This is not.
As if
not
like JT didn't blindside Taj in cold blood.
Yes. But and I think this adds to the cinematic, I guess, what would be the word? The cinematic whatever that this cinematic cover that the show is under, because they want to make this an event. And they do. Like this, by the time it's done, it's like, yes, this was heroes versus villains. Whether y'all are telling us this or whether we're seeing it with our own eyes, you have presented a heroes versus villains cast, and we'll talk about the James of it all in a little bit. But I do agree with you. And so Schaefer, where I go with this is now, if you don't count Guatemala, where we have 2 returnees, this is our 3rd season where we have at least half of the cast are returnees. And a lot of people, a good amount of people from pre-Idol Mania. I feel like the person that stands out the most is Colby. Because I'm not talking about Superman in a fat suit. I'm not talking about anything that deals with challenges. I'm talking about just Colby as a player just kind of feels he felt more in his element in 50 for me than he did here.
I made that same comment to my friends who I watched with every Wednesday during the premiere. I'm like, Colby looks so much more into it now than he did when he went into Heroes. He looked like he didn't want to be there, if I'm being really honest. Like, he looked like he didn't know what was going on, and he was a fish out of water for 37 days on that season. So, like, I truly feel like everybody else who had played without the idols, like the Jerrys, the Robs, the Ruperts, everyone else was able to adapt. I feel like Colby just didn't want to, he didn't try. He didn't really put in the effort, I don't think. And I feel like that was really why he was such a letdown on that season, outside of all the other things that went wrong for him then.
Of Colby's 4 times, would you say this is your least favorite?
Oh, by far, it's my least favorite from him.
This is kind of a group. Before I get to the group question, Laura, for you, who were you most excited to see back here?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because I remember when the cast came out, like, I remembered this premiere, and I remember thinking, how am I going to do a fantasy draft with my family? Which is what we did for every season. I've been watching since I was 8. Don't do the math on how old I am, please.
Don't forget to carry
There are so many people I was excited for, but I think that I was probably the most excited for Sandra and Stephanie. Because, like you said, Stephanie had overtaken Rupert as America's sweetheart. And even though Stephanie did a lot of villainous things in her previous season, I was still excited to see her again and be like, oh man, she's going to crush this. She's going to dominate. She's going to get a chance to win. I can't wait. I was also excited to see Courtney Yates because, she in China, I think, was such a standout. And obviously she doesn't win. She doesn't get a winner's edit because of that. But she's just so damn funny. So those are people that I was excited to see. And yes, I am very gay. Next question.
Did you just dox yourself? No. This is a question for the class before I get to my actual question. We have, do y'all think this season would have benefited or harmed? I know one of y'all already answered this. It would have been harmed by a swap. By far, it would have been harmed by a swap. This quickly.
Depends when.
Yeah.
It depends when the swap. If they did no swap but merged earlier, then I agree with you.
Okay. Laura?
So, something should have after Rob went home. Something should have happened. They should have merged or swapped. Then not doing anything there was just really, really bad.
Yeah, agreed. I think the fact that they didn't do any kind of swap or anything like that, I think that made a lot of people's games very linear, and I think that provided actually backing for Schaefer's opinion, which is that post-merge, things get kind of boring. Had there been a swap at some point and an intermingling of the heroes versus the villains, I think that would have caused a lot of people to say, okay, let me reevaluate my game. Let me talk to these new personalities. At that point, there wouldn't have been a chance for a Zoom alliance or anything like that. So we wouldn't have had to worry about that. But I think some people would have thrived. I think some people would have had trouble adjusting.
And I'll go back to
this is the only returning season. Oh, hold on. I feel like this is the only returning season where it's at least half the cast where we don't have it. And and I'm a fan. I will say I'm fine with them not doing it because of what they're trying to do with heroes, villains. I'm fine with it. But the fact that even in Blood versus Water, where it would make sense to keep people separated as long as possible, they still eventually mix them together. And I do think that it ends up helping the season progress. I feel like it does make it more exciting as the season progresses. Finish your statement.
I think even if they say they didn't want to do a swap, if they had just merged at 12 right after Rob went home, the villains tribe was a complete mess. They would have absolutely tried to jump ship and do something with the heroes. I think that probably would have been a better way to keep the story going than a swap or just leaving them as they are.
Okay, first big question of the night. And Buckley, we'll start with you. Why was the game getting the best of Rob?
I don't know. It's so funny. I literally, God, men bother me. End of sentence. That's
as a man.
As I'm married to one. I listen. I get it. I get it. I get it. But it's so dramatic. And this was, I think this was pre Rob oversaturation. At this point we had seen the same amount of Rob as I think at this point in
we hadn't seen him in
in a while.
Yeah,
he was about on the same level as Jerry and Colby. Actually, exactly like Jerry and Colby and Rupert. We haven't seen them since All Stars. So I didn't hate Rob at this time, but I just remember being bro, you got a wife and kids out of this. What do you mean it's getting the best of you? Just suck it up. And if Jerry Manthe, at that point in time, he's looking at Jerry, and if Jerry is his lifeline in that moment, considering he sacrificed her ass inadvertently in All Stars for his wife, it's just such a weird moment. It's so weird. I don't know.
Schaefer wasn't real. Do you think that moment was real?
Rob dropping in the woods?
Yes, everything surrounding it. Because they even do the whole thing where the camera drops, and it's well, Rob's not holding a camera. How did?
No, it was totally staged. That was Rob being dramatic and being oh, this is the perfect way to get some screen time. Let me fake getting hurt or here. Ugh, I don't like Boston Rob.
See, I am not one of these. I'm not a Boston Rob hater. I'm not one of these. He's the greatest thing that's ever existed. I'm just saying, yeah, Boston Rob is a solid player, probably top 10, all of that because of everything. Just looking at everything. Here, it's just one of those, and especially in this season where it's yeah, you're telling me I have to pick between Rob's alliance and Russell's alliance. 100% of the time, I'm picking Rob's alliance because I'm not a piece of shit. James. So this is the third time I've talked about James this week. I've never been a James person. In China, I just didn't like the way that he attacked. My favorite moment of James in China is "fuck Sudoku" because it is inherently a fun phrase. But I don't like his attitude towards a lot of people in China. In Micronesia, yeah, he's rightfully pissed off at Parvati when they pull that blindside on Ozzy. But once again, he just kind of comes off as a bully. And I feel like we get full on James bully dick mode edit in this season. Laura, Courtney says it during the sumo challenge of, "Oh, I told you, James, I told you weren't a hero. You're on the wrong tribe." James also won fan favorite 15 and 16. What do you think it was about James at this point in time that made people kind of overlook all of this? One, are you a James fan? And two, why do you think so many people look past James being a dick?
So I personally was not a huge James fan. And I actually raised my hand earlier because I was going to say this, which is that I think America likes charismatic men. But when a woman is charismatic and does the exact same thing that a charismatic man does, she's seen as manipulative, a black widow, a bitch, whatever it may be. There has always been that inherent gender bias in Survivor that if a man does certain things, he's seen as strategic, as charming, as America's sweetheart, as whatever it may be. But then a woman goes and does the same thing, and she's poverty and put on the villain tribe. And you can say that she was not as involved in some of the villainous things as Amanda and Cirie, but Parvati weaponized her sexuality in ways that other people had not. And I think that that was just too scandalous for America to accept at the time. And so she was considered too charismatic and therefore put as a villain. So at the end of the day, I really truly think that it's just a gender bias in that if you're a charismatic man, you're America's sweetheart. If you're a charismatic woman, you're probably going to be seen as a villain.
That is a very good point. And so we're going from that to actual America's sweetheart right here. I know we already referenced it, and just kind of get it out of the way. The Guatemala erasure in this season is insane. Not even just talking about Stephanie's why she's here, but when James continues to talk about like she's known for being on a tribe that always like but every time he says it, it's like there is no reference point of Guatemala, where she did win a fair few pre-merge tribe challenges, and I think at least 1 or 2 immunities at the merge. The Guatemala erasure, if you want to talk about that, we talked about why that's probably the case in the Guatemala episode a week and a half ago. The Parvati Russell thing, just pre-merge. And I think this is why, for me, I have another reason why, like, if I was there, I probably wouldn't have voted for it. But, like, one of the bigger things is it becomes very grating early on, the Parvati Russell dynamic. Like, yes, I appreciate the fact that she found this bandy leg little troll and she's going to lead him to the end of the game because she knows she can beat him. But when most of the screen time is them just like doing what they're doing, it makes me annoyed with her for even, I won't say sinking that low, but like, why are you doing this? But I understand. John, she brings it up in Final Tribal of no one else wants to work with her besides Danielle. I get it. So I guess as a Parvati fan, what did you think of her and Russell's dynamic?
She was right. The only reason why she didn't go the first tribal was because Randy was a liability. Like, just if they wanted to win challenges, that's how they all saw Randy, as that was just the leading thing. But even then, they step on the beach. You have, I think it was Coach talking about how Parvati is scary, Parvati is dangerous, and then you have like the Robs and everybody being like, yeah, we can't have her, we can't do this, she needs to go immediately. Russell is the only person aside from Danielle that is like willing to like work with her. And like, I don't know about you, but like, if you have a group of 7 bona fide Survivor players all saying, I refuse to work with this person. And Mr. Like bandy-legged troll walks down here and is like, listen, I will work with you. Are you just gonna be like, you're gross, I'm gonna walk away? Or no, she's gonna at that point, that relationship ended up saving her, because then he has that harebrained ass move that ends up collapsing that alliance and just start feeding in on itself. So like, she didn't really have a choice if she wanted to go far. And it got to a point where it was like, she saw how Russell was rubbing people the wrong way, and it like the roles as the game progressed reversed. She now held the leash over him, and at that point, Russell was always going to take Parv to the end, no matter what, because Russell in his brain thought he was better than Parv. He was better than Sandra. She knew that
he's another dumbass blonde. Yeah, even if he's not blonde. Yeah,
he turned him into the dumbass blonde.
Exactly.
It's pretty much what it came down to. And so, like, at that point, if it's a business move. Like, even though Russell is a shithead in that season, and he definitely, I mean, he's strategic and he has good chops, but I mean, like, we'll talk about the moment of the season later. I don't want to jump the gun, but like, there is a clear moment that you see Russell lose all traction, and it is literally her reaching in her bag, and like it is I think she had to do it in the moment, and it just progressed from there.
Danielle brings it up during Final Tribal of Parvati. Congrats to you for putting up with Russell for this long. And I think that is one of the things that kind of resonated with me the most this time around watching. It's like, yeah, because Danielle, I've seen so many times where people have asked Danielle, like in later years, who was worse to live with, Shane or Russell, and every single time she's like, Russell by a landslide. Shane was just basically going through nicotine withdrawal. Russell was just an actual monster. So what I felt in that moment when she says, Parvati, good job with dealing with them, it's like, yes, I get that, because I understand where Danielle is coming from here, and I understand what Parvati had to deal with for 39 days. Knowing, like, I don't know, like, I'm fairly certain that she wasn't physically attracted to this thing, but having to put up with all of that for that long, I can understand how that would be very grating to, and I think Rupert even gets her credit for it as well. You brought up Randy, and you brought up Randy at the beginning of what you were just saying. And so with Schaefer, and I promise you, we're not doing round by round. It's just that this first round is just, this first few rounds. Coach and Randy, it seems like they're the biggest actual fans of the show on the Villains Tribe, because they're the two people saying, we need to deal with Parvati. Like, everyone's worried about all this other stuff. They know, because they've watched the show. They understand what's actually going on. Let's deal with this now. And it's very similar to in Micronesia, where Penner is saying, hey, we should probably do something about this now. And this was before Parvati was Parvati in Micronesia. This was just when she was just some woman on the White and Raro tribe, like Candace. And in Micronesia, Penner still wants her gone. Here, she has now won a game, and Randy and Coach are the two. This is one of those moments I talked about earlier. It's like, man, yeah, Coach is kind of right. Like, they should probably just nip this in the bud now because of what could potentially happen. I guess my question for you is, one, do you agree with hindsight, whatever, but like, as a player, if you're out there, are you trying to work with her in this specific season, or are you trying to go after her?
I think it depends. Like, do you think, obviously people there should have known how dangerous of a player she was, but at that point, are you a big enough threat where you need to use her to protect yourself from other people? Like, I don't think Russell lining with her, I don't think was a bad idea for him, because obviously people didn't know who he was. But if you're dropping somebody on the cast to put him on last minute, that should be a big tell that you're a big threat and you need to be worried about. So if I was him, if I was Rob, I probably would have tried to use her as a shield. But I think Coach and Randy were doing the right things for their game, trying to get her out right away, because I don't think was going to be beneficial to either of them long term. And I hate that I just gave Coach credit for something.
It's fine. It pains me to do it, but like, It has to be done. This is if we're going to give him credit for something, it has to be done in this season, and that's it. Quickly, we get a foreshadowing of the hat because Russell's saying he wants to throw Boston Rob's hat in the fire. It's like, well, sucks to suck, fam. For me, the sumo challenge is my favorite challenge of the season by a very large margin. I don't think anything tops this. Quickly, round the horn. Laura, do you have a favorite challenge in the season? And why is it not the sumo challenge?
Well, apparently it's the sumo challenge. So,
John Buckley?
I mean, I will say the sumo challenge is really great because it's the first time that like the heroes actually get any kind of traction. You know, like they've just been beaten over and over and over and over again. And it's getting exhausting watching it. You know, you're just like, damn, when are they going to catch a break? And then they finally do. And then you get the added benefit of seeing, you know, the little troll being led around get pushed in the mud. So I think it's a fantastic play, and I think that it was a really good challenge in that it finally gave the heroes something to bond over, which is something that I think they needed. Whether it works for them in the long run, I don't know, but in the short term, I think it's what the show needed so that it wasn't just a complete blowout.
John?
No karate chopping. It's the best one.
No karate chopping.
It's the best quote of the. It's a vocal stem for it. If I watch Heroes versus Villains and I get to that episode, it is a like week-long vocal stem. I say no coach, no karate chopping. It's so funny. Yeah, it's the best one.
Okay, Schaefer.
I'm sorry, I've lost track. What was the question?
Just what your favorite challenge of the season was.
The rope-a-dope one, with the individual immunity pre-merge. Just to see James on one leg is able to beat people on his tribe in a challenge. That's actually really impressive.
Okay, all right. And so we get to the villains finally lose. Like Laura said, the heroes finally get some type of momentum because they've got roid monsters and big people in their tribe. They are easily able to win the sumo challenge. We get to the Randy boot, but that's not the important part of the Randy boot. The important part of the Randy boot is Sandra calling out Coach, which leads to one of my favorite moments of all time in the beginning of the next episode, where Coach has what I feel is probably a legitimate breakdown to Tyson, who in one of Tyson's only fun moments of the season is just like, yeah, you need to chill the fuck out. Stop telling your stories. Stop wearing feathers in your hair. Stop doing this. Stop doing your Tai Chi. Everyone thinks it's a joke. Here's the full of funny moments. And whether it's your favorite season or not, I feel like at the end of the day, it's once again, this is kind of an around the horn type question. Just funniest moment from the season. John, we'll start with you.
Oh, the cut of Russell talking about how weak Sandra and Courtney are, and Sandra just completely eating shit on the sand. Chef's kiss. It is so funny. Or it's two Sandra moments. I'm sorry, I have a tie. The second one is when she followed Russell and she was in the bushes. She goes, "He's a stupid ass," and walks away.
Ass. He's a stupid ass. Laura.
I was gonna say he's a stupid ass, but
you can say it. I mean, if that's your favorite moment.
No. I'll stick with one of my original statements, which is Sandra burning Russell's hat at the very end. And Russell comes back to camp and is like, "Where's my hat? Have you seen my hat? I put it right here." And they pan to Parv, and she's just like, you know, just like, "Oh, I know what happened, but I ain't saying shit." Like, you go, girl. It was fantastic.
Schaefer?
It's definitely Colby losing it on his brother during the Loved Ones challenge.
Come on, Reed, damn it.
Reed, come on.
Come on, Reed, damn it. We're going to go back to James for a second, because this is a storyline that carries from 15 until now. James just does not believe in the social or strategic element of the game. It is Rupert-esque. I think John brought it up earlier of Rupert just is not a good actual player. James is in the same camp where like he just doesn't he straight up says social game is a bunch of bullshit and blah blah blah. Strategic game is a bunch of bullshit. As opinions on Stephanie LaGrossa aside, just Schaefer James 3.0. Just thoughts on him.
I mean, did we really need to see James again? Like, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like, I think what Stephanie was saying wasn't too far off. Like, he's a dick, and he acted like it to everybody, and he kept doing it even afterwards on this. Like, you need to treat people right if you want a chance to stay in and win the game. And obviously, what James getting hurt later on didn't help matters, but like, you're not going to have a chance if you don't have any sort of social game at all. And I think James just proved, like, especially this time out, like, you have to at least try to treat people nice, even if you're not working with them. You got to do something. Sitting around and just yelling at people and eating food, like, you're not doing anything.
We get the this is not really a question, this is more of a I'm surprised they brought the Ben Browning challenge back this season where he got ejected. I'm surprised they brought it back because Barassi, even if you don't talk about him getting ejected, Barassi gets hurt in it. And then this challenge, James gets hurt and should be voted out, but you know, Rupert has to stick to his alliance. So I'm surprised they brought the Ben Browning challenge back. JT 2.0. This is pre-letter, John. Pre-letter, JT 2.0 on the Heroes Tribe. I feel like he's playing a very dangerous middle game, but he's playing it very well. Like, from the very beginning, people are even saying, yeah, JT keeps flip-flopping, but JT's not catching any flack. JT's not catching any votes. Before we get to the letter aspect of JT's game here, what were your thoughts on JT just during the pre-merge?
I was surprised that he could, like, I don't know, play like that because, like,
strategize.
Yeah, and let's just say without every single thing that happened in him in a blue buff from letter onward, and that's talking about game changers too, doesn't surprise me. That's exactly what I expected to see was idiot JT who doesn't have a Stephen Fishbach to answer anything for him. But like I think he got lucky in that the dynamics were set up and it was a very like you turn left at the light or you turn right at the light kind of moment. And like the best thing that he has attributed for him wasn't even his idea. It was Tom Westman's idea, which was taking out Suri. Because, like, as much as I love Suri, obviously we love Suri, that was a brilliant move. It didn't necessarily work in a fracture way that, you know, like the Tyson move does, but, like, it was a brilliant move. I don't think it was a good idea for JT, and seriously, I think JT should have gotten the axe for going along with it. If it was a new era season of Survivor, I think JT would have gone when Tom went, to be so real. But Survivor mentality was much different back then. So I think he was doing a good game. I think, though, that would have caught up with him had the events of the game not happened after that.
And when we talked about this during Token Sheens, you see this with a lot of players, especially a lot of winners that come back, where it's like you feel like they're playing with house money. It's like, oh, I don't give a shit. I just won. Like I could do whatever, and it's fine. You see it with Tony and Game Changers. Just a lot of the time, it's like, okay, let's just see what happens. Maybe it works. Maybe, and that's why I always consider Parvati, Rob, Michelle, Sandra, all these players that still make it far after they win. We'll take Rob off of that, but those Michelle, Sandra, Parvati. The fact that they continue to make it far even after they win, it's like, yes, because at the end of the day, they still they go into every game thinking it's different. It's not, oh, well, I've already won before, so like I can do whatever. It's like, no, if you're playing in a game, why wouldn't you try to just win again. It's still $1 million on the line. It's still the pride of having one survivor on the line. And so I feel like with JT, I don't think he necessarily had the mentality of like, fuck it, we ball, but it was definitely like, let's show these people I didn't need Steven. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's see what you do now. And what he does now is a good middle game until he shoots himself in the foot, which leads to the Tyson vote out. We'll go with Michael Schaefer on this. It's frustrating because as a Tyson person and as a Boston Rob Alliance person in this season, to see that tribal go down, and yes, as a fan of the game, that is a crazy move to pull off. I get it. I absolutely get it. But as a person that despises Russell Hantz, it's like I can't believe this is now what's happening. The Tyson vote out the first time he watched it, and just through the years, once again, it's like your thoughts on everything that deals with the Tyson vote.
How dumb can you be?
Pretty dumb.
The logic that Russell laid out wasn't even good logic. Like I do give Russell a lot of respect for at least trying this, and like you kind of have to give it to him. He risked his entire game if this didn't work. If what he tried to pull here didn't work, he was going home. And I think he was fine risking his whole game to see if this worked. And like, if you're Tyson, like, how would this benefit him if he is actually going along with what he tells you? Because he didn't need to tell you this. If he really wanted to save himself, he would have just wrote Property's name down and that's it. Why would he be coming to you with this with any sort of real logic? And I think Tyson just didn't put two and two together. He was just like, oh, well, she's going home anyway. Might as well throw my vote. Why? Why are you just going to flip your vote when all it can do is just hurt you? That's just, it boggles my mind. Now, to me, I think I had the second worst move ever in Survivor. Like, there was no benefit to what Tyson did, even if he thought in some illogical way that was going to help him in the future. So I just can't look past like how just absolutely ridiculously dumb that was. And he deserved what happened to him.
Yes, and he got a little too big for his britches. Laura, going along with that, the Villains Tribe, this is really where the Villains Tribe starts to go down this shithole, because Rob's going to go home right afterwards. But someone brought up idols earlier. Idols lead to a lot of fun moments on the show. I prefer the show without them because I'm just that old school. What are your thoughts on we're not even talking about advantages, just idols when it deals with the show? Like, yes, even though they lead to fun moments, do you think that if you were to play, it's like if you got idled out of a game, how would you feel? Just thoughts on idols.
So, as someone who's a big fan of reality TV, I play a lot of online reality games, orgs, and I have been idled out before. So, players online can do puzzles, whatever it may be, to find idols. I respect the moves when they're done correctly. And they can lead to a lot of fun moments. They can lead to a lot of interesting dynamics. I think that sometimes the paranoia gets the best of players at times. And there are times throughout Survivor history that we've seen where people have split votes when they shouldn't have, or they should have and they didn't. And so I think that idols have gotten really out of control, especially with season 50 and the boomerang idol twist. Oh, excuse me, the Billie Eilish boomerang idol twist.
Like we gotta put her name on there. She watches the show, so like.
I'm so
Allegedly.
sorry. But yeah, like, I mean, even looking at Sandra's idol play this season, she says, oh, I don't want to walk out of the game with it in my bra. And she gets up and she plays it. And she knows she's getting 2 votes and she's not sure about the other votes. And in games like this, you can never be completely sure that what people are telling you is true unless it's completely illogical. But at the same time, there's a lot of wasted potential. Sandra played that idol and she didn't need to. She wasn't going home. So I think idols add an interesting element of strategy to the game when used correctly. I just don't know that players are always savvy enough to strategize around them correctly.
John, before I get to you, I know Gabe didn't watch season 50. Yes, it's the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. You'll understand it when you watch. Nothing actually crazy happened with the idol, so like, don't worry about it. It's mostly a branding thing. John, just thoughts on the Tyson boot, and just thoughts on Tyson 2.0.
Well, there's not much Tyson 2.0. I liked his hair. I liked the V-neck. I think the thing with this boot is it's really tragic. It happened on a double boot episode, because if we had got a full episode lead up to this, I feel like it would have been even better. And I feel like it's so absurd. Like, it happens, it's like a hit and run car crash. Like, there's like a fast setup to it. It sounds stupid, like it shouldn't work, and then it does work, and then they just like move on, like as if like nothing's ever happened. So I definitely think there's context left on the cutting room floor as to why Tyson thought this was a good idea, that I like or why how he felt confident that him doing this wasn't gonna like blow up massively in his face. But I mean, personally, I think it's one of the most entertaining like moments like in Survivor history. I think it is so freaking hilarious. And anytime Parvati has an idol played for her, I'm gonna be happy about it. So like it's it's one of the best blindsides I think in Survivor.
In the show's history, and yeah, I'll give credit to whatever the fuck. Just a couple of comments in my notes. As much as I'm not a Candace person, I do feel for her on the Heroes tribe, because they're still trying to keep James around, even though it's like, what? This woman is literally in the medical field. She knows that this man should not be here at this point, and he's just toughing it out because he's a man. Just vote his ass out. I do feel for Candace here. You heard it here first. On the villains tribe, I do feel for Coach, because as much of a Courtney person I am, I love Courtney. The round that Boston Rob goes home, I do feel like they probably should have just done Courtney at that point. And it sucks. Like, and if she had more confessionals, I think I've been more, I guess, happy about it. Schaefer, and I agree with Coach in saying that Courtney should probably go. Coach doesn't pick a side here. Coach just votes Courtney while the two sides vote elsewhere, with Rob ultimately going. And we get to this the big Sandra move of the season of, hey Coach, or hey Russell, Coach talking shit about you. As a viewer, how do you feel about Boston Rob going as early as he does here? I don't know what your relationship with Boston Rob is, so like, how do you feel about Boston Rob going here? How do you feel about what Coach does in this spot? And how do you feel about Sandra, understanding that this fucking crazy man is paranoid and I can convince him of anything and he'll probably do it? So there's a 3-part question, but
yeah, I'll start with Rob. Coach. Coach is a chicken. He should have just wrote Rob's name down, because I think he knew
he's a little man. He's a little man.
He knew Rob was going home. He knew Rob was going home, even if he voted for Courtney. So he should have just wrote Rob's name down, and instead he just shows he has no backbone, no nothing. And that's why Rob even said to him on the way out, "You're a little man. You should just wrote my name down."
Jerry did.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I put it on Coach. Coach picked a side there. He was just too chicken shit to do anything about it. Sandra. I thought this was an excellent move by Sandra. Like, she knows her and Courtney are on the bottom. If she doesn't do anything, Courtney goes that round. And then if they lose again, which they do, Sandra goes next. This at least gives her some sort of buffer to where even if we lose another challenge and have to go, at least one of the two of us is going to go. And Sandra knew that she'd survive between her and Courtney. So I think she definitely did a great job at least finding some person, and Coach was a great target to try to be like, hey, Russell, I think he's talking shit about you, because Coach and Russell knew that Coach didn't like him. So I think that was a great move. I think it was probably her best move of the whole season.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the third part.
I can't even remember.
Rob, Coach, Sandra. I think I hit the ball.
Laura, this is one of the moments of the game where metagaming, for people that don't know what metagaming is, play an org or a live game, you'll understand. Metagaming kind of comes into play because after the Boston Rob vote out, the heroes, specifically the men on the heroes, start saying, oh man, all women's alliance. Look, they're doing what they did in Micronesia. Let's hyper focus on this. We've brought up just biases, I guess, through all of this. But as a game player, even if you look past bias, are you still looking at potentially all women's alliance, or are you thinking there might be something else up? I know we have the benefit of knowing what's actually happening, but as a game player, you know these biases exist, but you also know that Parvati did this thing in her winning game. How are you seeing this villain tribe as they continue to come in with less men?
I mean, I can understand to an extent why the heroes were worried about an all-women's alliance, but at the same time, you look at the history of Survivor and you look at how many times a women's alliance is proposed versus how many times a women's alliance is actually formed. And those odds are not very good at all. So I think JT slipping Russell the idol, saying, okay, use this to protect yourself against all the women and everything like that. I mean, I don't think it's as boneheaded of a move as people who have watched this season will say. Because when you're out there, you have limited information. Like, you're only seeing what you're seeing. But at the same time, I think you really do have to wonder, okay, what are the overall dynamics? What could these people be doing? I've seen some of these people play before. I should probably assess what their gameplay is going to be now, and try and put together what's going on for real.
We get to the this is one of the only times I'm going to talk about Dick Jeff. During the Courtney vote out, Jeff basically keeps blaming the villains losing on Courtney being there because they got rid of Boston Rob, and she keeps saying, I didn't vote for him, so why are you so upset that I'm still here when I was a part of this alliance that I didn't vote against Rob at any point? And Jeff just keeps on, well, Courtney, no disrespect. It's like, well, thank you, Jeffrey. It's an amazing. I love Courtney Yates, but Courtney finally goes home. And Laura kind of alluded to this before that. We get the moment where JT finds the idol, and because we have an all-conquering women's alliance on the villains tribe, JT passes the idol to Russell. And so for 6 years, I have vocally said, yes, it is a dumb move because you don't do that. But also, the last time JT watched Survivor, one of the last times JT watched Survivor was Micronesia and maybe the first 2 episodes of Samoa. He doesn't know who this man is. And yes, it is still a dumb move, but John, just your opinion on the JT handing the idol off. No, as a super fan, you know, like everything that kind of goes surrounds it. Do you still consider it, you know, just the worst or one of the worst? I know you kind of alluded to earlier, but yeah.
I think it's the second worst move of all time. And I think that the only thing that can beat it is Eric giving up immunity in micro, because that was extremely direct elimination. Whereas the problem with it, and I understand like at least how his brain got there. The issue is like there's a lot of uncertainties in Survivor. Obviously, at this point, the jury has started and they haven't merged. Big question mark there. So the merge is coming at some point at this point. And at this point, the jury has started. So when are they going to merge? JT might need that idol for himself if the heroes lose for whatever reason. First of all, I mean, I think it was assumed they'd probably get rid of Candace, but like shit can go down. You know, shit can happen. But like, if you make it to a merge and you want to team up with Russell, wouldn't you rather have the idol in your possession so you know what's happening with the idol instead of just giving it to him and then just hoping that it works? Because you don't know what's actually happening. You could have an assumption and, you know, say Russell makes the merge and then he'd be like, okay, like, do you need to like team up with us? And then like at that point he can decide what to do with the idol. But like giving up possession of an idol like that is just like it's a rookie thing to do. And like I'm not saying like idols like at this point in history, I think for like 3 calendar years, immunity idols in that form had been a thing. Like, Fiji was the first time they were like this. Shout out Survivor Fiji. And if it just doesn't make it doesn't so as this day doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand.
Oh no! Watching it today, I finally changed my mind on it because for years I've kind of defended JT of like, yeah, it's a dumb move, but like you didn't know who Russell was. Today it's like, why do you care? Why do you care who he is? If Russell goes home tonight, you're going to the merge 5-5 anyway, and you have an idol, and you know that Amanda has decent relationships with these people. If Courtney somehow survives this tribal, you know that Amanda could go talk to Courtney even if she doesn't go talk to Parvati. You know that Rupert has a relationship with Sandra. You know that you have a couple people in your tribe that like
Colby
you at least know Colby and Jerry. Yeah, you know that you can play the idol. You can probably play the idol correctly because of the relationships that your heroes have with your villains. So it doesn't really matter that you don't know who Russell is. At the end of the day, who gives a shit? Just let him go home. Just let him go home. It's not the biggest of deals. And this is very much a bias type thing coming in. It's like I think him and Colby heard Russell's accent and thought he was a good old boy and decided, let's help out our good old boy here. And because that's the final 3 that they're proposing when the idol gets back. Oh yeah, there's 3 of us to the final 3. It's the 3 of us to the final 3. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I think it goes more of that than them not knowing who Russell is. And it frustrated me more today than any other time I've watched Heroes versus Villains, which is a lot. Because like, JT, why do you care about any of this? Sorry, we just lost Laura. The letter, because if you don't know, and we're gonna when we get to the end of the game, when we get to Final Tribal, I think this is what costs Parvati in the end. JT writes the letter to Russell, you know, basically narrating a 1960s civil rights movie. It's like because of this accent, it's adorable. His Alabama accent is adorable, no matter what. And we merge, and this merge episode, no matter, is one of the greatest merge episodes of all time. Because one, Amanda Kimmel is the worst when it comes to lying, and especially when she's pouting, which is most of the time. Amanda Kimmel pout face is one of my favorite things. And when she's lying and pouting, it's like, how did you ever expect anyone to buy this? Sandra comes to Schaefer. Will go with you. Sandra comes to Rupert after he's been told, "Hey, this is what happened during the Courtney vote out." Sandra comes to Rupert and says, straight up, "This is exactly what's been going on in the Villain Tribe." This is where Sandra's story arc really takes off. This is exactly what's been happening on the Villain Tribe. Trust me. And Rupert does once again.
Rupert believed her.
Rupert believes her. Like I'm supporting Rupert here. Rupert believes her and goes to JT and fucking Colby. It's like, well, she's a woman, so we can't believe her. Is this the moment? One that Sandra probably wins the game, but also just how are these all joking aside, why do you think that JT and Colby just refuse to believe that this is real?
Arrogance. That's the only possible explanation I can come up with of why they chose to believe their own narrative that they spun with no help, no actual physical facts from Russell about how everything they thought was true. It was just pure arrogance that they thought, oh, well, this is exactly what happened. I think Sandra's trying to lie to you, Rupert, even though Rupert correctly sussed out from Sandra, she's telling me the truth. We need to go along with this. She's our best shot to try to give us the numbers, not Russell. And like by the time they realized it, it was too late and there was nothing they could do. So I give, as much as I like to shit on Rupert because I really don't think he's a great player, his read here, especially his read on Russell the entire time, really was spot on. And it was just, I'm sure he felt vindicated once it all came down that everything he thought about Russell was right. But obviously it just hurt because then after that he had no shot to win the game.
Yeah, and that's why I said at the beginning of this whole thing, it's like this. I think this is why this is my favorite Rupert, because he believes Sandra from the very beginning, and he just kind of has to do what he can. Even like the fake idol play that we're gonna play, the fake idol in his pocket that he goes to later. It's like, okay, you get it, buddy.
He's trying.
Hey, Rupert,
I
look
give
at you.
him his props for trying.
You want to pat him on the head, John. Once again, just the same question, kind of. It's how did the heroes screw this up this badly at the merge?
It comes down to a straight man's pride, because JT I don't even think it was Colby as much as it was just JT just being like, no, we have to do this, and the precariousness with it being a 5-5 merge is you need like all 5 people. If you want to stick together, you need all 5 people to be aligned. Otherwise, if you implode, you're just giving the game to the villains anyways, which JT already did. But it's JT is the reason no hero won Heroes versus Villains. It's just the truth. And this was like, it was like the 2 VHSs for Titanic. Part 1 of Titanic was the letter, and part 2 was the merge. Like, the ship was sinking. It was just whenever the ship snapped, and the ship snapping was whenever Parvati pulled out the second idol and they realized they were screwed. Like,
that may be my favorite thing that has happened through 20 days on here is the Titanic VHS comparison to the merge versus Villains.
It is like a full-on story arc, and people are going to die.
Parvati reads through Amanda's pouty face. I'm just going through my Parvati reads through Amanda's pouty face. A double idol play. One of the I still put something else that I'll get to in 11 days higher than that, even though but Parvati's double idol play clutch, and then we get to the Candace of it all, because Cook Island's Candace is one of my least favorite people of all time. Obviously from the mutiny on. One of my favorite memes is Candace going to Exile Island as much as she does. When she ends up on the Heroes Tribe this season, it's like, but why? I don't get it. And it's like, okay, cool. I understand Candace wanting James out. I'm trying to vibe with Candace 2.0. I'm trying to do it. And then Candace pulls a Candace, like I said earlier. Candace pulls a Candace and jumps ship and basically ends the game for the heroes. Period. I know you just said JT does it, and I do agree, but Candace removes all doubt. Michael Schaefer at this point, just from Russell telling her, "Hey, I have the idol. Hey, we've got this. Hey, we have that." Do you understand why Candace flipped, or do you still feel like, hey, she could have potential? Because Sandra's sitting there telling her, I am with you if you do this. I'm with you if you go with the heroes here. Do you understand in the end why Candace did what she did?
No. I mean, let me expand that a little more. Like, I think Candace was damned if she did, damned if she didn't. Either way, because she wasn't on top of the heroes, and obviously going with the villains, you're just putting yourself even lower on the totem pole than you are before. And obviously, it doesn't end up helping her because she goes right after she does this. But I just don't know why you would go and vote with majority when the ship has already sunk. Like, she really didn't have anything to gain from voting with them. Because, like, it's Russell. You're disposable no matter what. He had his people locked in at that point. Candace was never going to be one of those people. She was always just going to be down there with Sandra. And so her flipping really didn't make sense. I think if she had Sandra on her side full bore, she should have went back to the heroes and at least tried to play the middle and make something happen. But that also would mean Candace would have to think, and it's very clear for 3 seasons watching her, she doesn't do that.
Also in the Candace episode, John, we get the Treasure Island reward, which
it's so good.
This is where like I checked out on Colby for most of the season, and this is where I checked right back in. It's like, yep, I'm probably Colby in the spot. It's like, I don't just you fucking like I'm just trying to watch Treasure Island. Thoughts on just everything else that surrounds this episode, not even talking about the Candace boot, just like the Amanda Danielle fight, Colby watching, just everything surrounding it.
It is quite possibly one of the most outlandish like Survivor moments. Like, it almost feels like a Brant Steele generated moment without Brant Steele generating it. Like, I understand, like, that was, like, Amanda's lifeline. Like, let's be so real. If you lay out all 4 of those heroes and you need to get rid of one, at that point in time, I would be terrified of Amanda. So, like, that was Amanda's, like, last moment. What got me was the wrestling on the floor for a scrolled up piece of paper. And, like, Colby just sitting there being like, oh, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, this, honestly, too, and the best part is, this could have helped Colby's game, too, if Colby had decided to get in on it. But, like, if Danielle DiLorenzo doesn't fuck around, and, like, I knew that she would throw Amanda through the window. Amanda still would be 9th place, this time medevac. Like, she would be through the window, and Danielle would walk down there, pull out a glass shard out of her hand and pull the idol clue to, and walk back upstairs and keep eating fucking popcorn. Like, it's so funny. It's so funny.
I had started to check out today. I'll be honest. I started to check out of Heroes of Results today because it's like, man, there's so much Russell. And then that moment happened. It's like, you know what? Even in these moments and these episodes between the JT vote out to the finale, there are still I compare it more to like Marquesas, where when John Carroll gets voted out, whenever I watch Marquesas, it's like, oh yeah, but it's basically just like pagonging from there. It's like, no, but we still get moments like Pascal and Sean going on the reward together. We get my balls. We get Nalia with the mint. We get a lot of moments that, even though like grand scheme are not the craziest thing that ever happened, it's still like, man, that's still a funny moment that I enjoy. And I think this is one of those moments where, yes, as we're just kind of going through the motions until we get to the finale. This is one of those moments where it's like, this is still fun. I am enjoying what's happening here. I want Amanda to get this, and I know that Danielle's just going to keep it, and it's fine. And Amanda will go, and it's all good. But Colby is sitting there. Oh, I was watching Treasure Island. I don't give a shit. Like I'm checked out until he's not. Candace, Rupert says that Candace isn't a hero. We already talked about that. Also, Laura's power went out, so that's what happened there. Rupert's fake idol. Another one of the reasons that, as I sit here today, Rupert 3.0 is probably my favorite. Michael Schaefer is just the greatest thing that Rupert has ever done as a Survivor player. Or was it stepping off the mat in Blood versus Water and ridding us?
Well, that's just saying this from having watched the whole season of Rupert. But in terms of gameplay, like this was a good play by Rupert. What else was he supposed to do? Like at least this shows me that at least from Rupert playing all these times, he has shown that he's learned something and can actually try to adapt and do something. Did it work? No, it didn't work. But he's trying, and like I can give people credit for trying.
Is that it?
I mean, I don't really have much else.
Oh no, yeah. I didn't know if that was.
I do something good to help him, and I have to give him credit for that, especially being such an old school player who doesn't really think outside of his little box of we need to worry about shelter, we need to worry about alliances, we need to be loyal, blah 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 blah. Like I'll give Rupert some credit. I don't do it very often, but when it's warranted, I do it.
John, I would say that from the JT vote is probably the last time that Russell has a legitimate chance at maybe winning the game. And we can argue that it might even be earlier, but let's just say because JT does give Russell props on his way out, which is crazy. Parvati's the one that played the idols. The Danielle vote is the point for me. It's like, yeah, this man had no chance in hell from here on out because it's a final three. Who gives a shit if Danielle and Parvati are that close? When Danielle was sitting there at Tribal saying, we've been a tight three since the beginning, and he's said, oh yeah, that set off red flags in my head. It's like, why? She's basically saying she plans on going to the end with you. We've talked a lot about how Russell is whatever. When one of y'all said to me today, but he's a solid strategist, and it's like, yeah, he is. But he makes a lot of dumb moves, and I feel like this is the dumbest move that I feel like Russell Hantz ever made because it's like, why are you getting rid of Danielle? Do you think there is merit there? I guess my question. Do you think there's merit to him voting out Danielle at that moment?
No, I don't. I actually, after I texted you that, I was sitting at home by myself alone because Brandon was at work, working and talking to myself. Like I'm admitting on TV, or not on TV, on a podcast on YouTube that I talk to myself when I'm alone. Oh well, I do. But I was talking through his game pretty much, and I was like, where did he really screw up? And I think the Danielle vote could have been a grave mistake for his game because. And obviously things transpire at the final six that leads to Rupert and Colby voting for Sandra and and this, that, and the other. But Sandra fucking hates Russell. She hates Parvati. She hates Danielle. She hates Jerry. She's only with them because she wants to have a shot at potentially making it to the end because sitting there with Colby and Rupert is definitely a riot. But
yeah.
Final six is the last time Sandra can play an idol. She has that idol. For some reason this season it was final six. I don't know why. But she had that idol. She could have very easily, had they gone into it, decided to go to Colby and Rupert, and those three vote together. She finds out who they're voting for. She plays the idol for Rupert and then takes out one of the three of them. And then those three become the three. That could have been a massive fuck up for Russell. And he's lucky that it doesn't work for him. And it works out for Sandra eventually because she, spoiler alert, but it was a nearsighted move based out of ego that I think was an error move because it was like playing chess and leaving your queen like wide open. Nobody took the shot at the queen, but the queen was wide open. Like they could have gone for it. But I think it was a bad move because I don't think Danielle would have won. I think Danielle
if it's
probably
Parvati, Danielle, and Russell, I think Parvati probably wins there.
Parvati wins.
I think Parvati might win almost unan, to be honest with you. And if anything, somebody would vote for Danielle because they didn't want to vote for the other two. And kind of like a Reed voting for Jacqueline kind of moment. Like
Trying to make sure Russell gets third. Yep.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
So I truly think at that point, like, I mean, let's be real. Russell doesn't win, period. But Russell could have gotten his torch snuffed.
Smucked. Well, that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. Fuck. I have to do Nicaragua tomorrow.
You're gonna have a dark weekend.
Yeah. No. The answer is no. They are not voting for Candace.
Shot the heroes.
There's no chance in hell that Candace. I think Russell has a better chance of winning the game than Candace. Yes, but even
That's
then,
very telling.
But
again, he still loses. Whoever the third person is, he loses to.
Yes. Just a couple notes. One, I used to feel really bad for Danielle during her boot. Today, I was like, you picked your bed, you have to lay in it. I don't give a shit. You pick this crazy person, you have to lay in it.
I saw, not to like interject, but I saw like pictures lately of like her and Parvati at this thing. Danielle looks really good.
She does.
If
Danielle
Di Lorenzo is watching
in Orlando
this,
last December, she looks really good.
Yeah. Yes.
As a gay man, Danielle.
Oh, she's hot. She's
hot. Danielle's hot. Danielle Di Lorenzo has always been hot, and I don't even go that way.
She is a captain of sports to the end. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this because my eyesight is horrible. During the family visit, I put in my notes, quote, does Russell Hantz have a child bride? Because she just looks young. And I think he's only like 36 here, 36 or 37. But she just looks young. And in my head, it's like he does seem like the type of person that would have a child bride of like 20. I saw at the reunion, she is older, but on the island, she definitely looked like someone that, Anyway, we're gonna go past that. Sandra starts telling the heroes they're keeping Russell around because they know they can beat him. And this is where the Sandra winner edit starts, 2 episodes before the finale. Sandra basically says, hey, the reason that Jerry and Parvati are keeping this man around is because they know that they can beat him at the end of the game. Both of y'all are super fans. We'll start with John. I'm going to ask the same question to both of you. John, is there another moment in Survivor history where an actual goat, a goat that like loses, like goat or not, a goat that actually loses? Is there an earlier point in a season where a goat was already determined this person is going to lose the game?
I would say probably Philip Shepard. I would definitely say him. I would say Philip, and I think it's the New Era seasons. There's probably somebody. Somebody he probably hasn't, but I always was like, there's no shot he's ever winning is Romeo in 42. So I would say maybe him too. But I don't think anybody can hold a candle to Russell Hantz or Philip Shepard, to be honest.
Schaefer?
I had an idea and it just went out of my head.
Oh, I have another one. But you keep going. I have a third one.
Well, if Schaefer can't think of it, you might end up saying the one he was thinking about.
Go ahead, say it.
Cassandra and Fiji.
I just thought of it. No, it wasn't her. Will from Worlds Apart.
Oh.
See, I just don't think about him.
I don't think about Worlds Apart.
It took me a minute to remember his name.
What's the black guy's name from Worlds Apart?
If Cassandra didn't wear those water shoes, man, maybe she should have gotten an easy vote.
The Colby confessional, which I feel like the most recent comparison we have is the Chrissy confessional from 50, where like Colby has me hook, line, and sinker the first time I watched it, and every time I watch it now, it's like, wow, this is really good. Where he thinks he's saying basically, this is it, I'm done, all of that, but blah blah blah.
Oh, Albert's a good one too.
Albert is a good one. Albert is a good one. I don't agree with Rizzo mainly because he didn't go to the end, but also I think that there are situations where Rizzo could probably win. For y'all, this is just first time watching or most recent time that you watch that you have a vivid memory of kind of what's going on. Was there, as an audience member, it's like, wow, do you think that Colby could possibly win this game? I know that if he sits at the end, he wins, but like, do you think he can get there?
No.
No.
Like the only
John's shaking his head. So.
The only possible way that he would find his way to the end, obviously besides winning challenges, which he couldn't do at all, would be if Russell's ego was really that big, thinking I can beat whoever I sit with, and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to sit next to a hero. Like that's the only way I think he could have made it there.
And John just no.
I think he would have had to have won out. Mm-hmm. I think Russell. I think Russell's ego may be quite big, but I don't think Russell's ego would have ever gone, to it. And seeing what the last challenge was, there was no way that he was beating any of the villains at that. Like Colby was, I think Colby in 50 was like in better shape than he was in 20. Like
he just seems checked out here, with the exception of this confessional. He seems so checked out in the season, and it's like you feel for him.
I bet you anything. The producer looked at him and was like, we need some sort of doubt in the viewers' minds, and made him add that in. Because I bet you Colby being checked out was Colby, because Colby was checked out the moment like Tom went home.
Yeah.
So like, because he just assumed he was going home next. So he just like literally was like, fuck this. I'm not with the people I want to be with. I don't want to deal with Candace. So Rupert's annoying. Like he was just kind of over it. And he's also said too, not to like tangent on Colby, but he said in like, I think he said during the reunion, and he said it other times too, that playing in Samoa was difficult because his favorite thing about going to Survivor was being able to go out and explore and like, go and, go through the jungles and go into the ocean, and like Samoa was extremely limited on where they could go. So I think it's another thing why he loved playing Fiji so much, because Fiji, why did I say it like PG? Fiji is a lot more expansive, and people, it was a big thing. So I think, I don't know. I think there was a lot of aspects. I think he was also checked out too, like whoever that was that just said that. The game then was not the game that he played in All Stars, or honestly, he's wanted to play it like it was Australia again. Yeah. He wanted to sit back with Tina and Keith and just vibe. Like, I think that's just what he wanted to do. So,
and the other so I think my biggest qualm, one of my big qualms with the 50 cast was that they didn't do Colby and Jerry again, because the final five here is so like, this feels like such a great bookend on the Colby Jerry story. Just Jerry, at least on camera, does not look like she wants to do this, but understands I have to do this if I want to win the game. And it closes. If Survivor had ended on season 20, one of the big stories that they would have told is the Jerry Colby story arc, and this would have been perfect. And yes, if we had gotten the epilogue in 50, it would have still been cool because we would have gotten them both back. But I don't think, like, as much as I like Colby in 50, I almost needed Jerry there too. That's my only big qualm with Colby being on 50, is like I needed the Jerry, because they had done everything together up to that point, to the point where they're doing the Courtney mocks Coach for how he screamed out during the token chains, but during that challenge, and Colby and Jerry are going next to each other, and it's like, yes, I've been watching this show for 20 days, and I forgot about the Jerry Colby thing until that moment. And when it happens, like, well, this is so cool. Like, I've seen these people kind of grow on the show. I'll come off of that tangent here. We get the iconic Sandra, I don't know about that confessional, which in the grand scheme of just winner quotes is definitely up there only because we all are rooting for Russell to lose the game. And the burning of the hat happens and we get to Final Tribal. And I brought this up yesterday. Whenever people bring up bitter juries, I always say, if they're not All-Stars and they're not Vanuatu and they're not Fiji, they're probably not bitter and you're just upset your favorite person lost the game. Because in those three instances, those people were so overly upset that they're personally attacking people, whether they vote for that person or not, they're just angry. And both Samoa and Heroes vs. Villains, I never got the vibe that these people are so overly angry that they just can't vote logically. And we're just kind of talking about the Russell thing right now. We'll talk about the Sandra versus Parvati thing in a second. John, we'll start with you. Your favorite moment of the Final Tribal questioning part?
My favorite part of the questioning?
Of the questioning, yeah.
I think it does come down to like Rupert opening it up and being like, Sandra was like the only one that at least gave us the chance to play. I'll be so real with you. Even though this season is so grandiose, so when it comes to the Final Tribal, like there's not a ton that I like ever like really like sticks out to me. Like, this isn't like a Final Tribal that is like a one for the books Final Tribal. Like, it's not the Kagiyan Final Tribal. It's not the I don't know, like the All Stars Tribal Council Final Tribal. Like, it's not one that like sticks out in my brain. But the one moment I always remember is Rupert thanking Sandra. And I always just thought that was cool, considering their arc together too, having been on drink together and like everything that occurred. So that was
and he says, like, hey, even if the other heroes don't vote for you, thank you so much for trying to help us out, because we were all basically dumb and didn't listen to what you've been telling us from Jump. Schaefer, same question. Just favorite moment from the actual questioning portion of the Final Tribal.
I just love everybody talking to Russell and watching Russell's face. His ego was so huge. He thought he was winning unanimously. He was so excited to go in there and get praised. And just every single time him slowly realizing that he had absolutely zilch of a chance to win the game and he was going to lose to Sandra of all people was just fabulous television.
And then Laura, welcome back. Just favorite moment from the Final Tribal, not including like how the votes go, just like the questioning part of it.
I would say probably Danielle getting up there and being like, Russell, you've heard from the jury now. Would you say you had shit jury management or what? And he's like, no, I don't think I did. And she's like, are you sure? Like, are you really sure? And he's like, I wouldn't change a thing. And she's like, I rest my case.
No one's going to vote for you. Yeah, my favorite moment is Danielle saying, no one's going to vote for you. No one's going to, like, how have you not caught on to this at this point? He hasn't gotten his email from Shambo telling him he's lost 19 yet, but he can still kind of read what happened at the finale of Samoa to know that, like, he, as great as he thought he played there were still people that were probably not going to vote for him. And I think he's like 2 or 3 weeks removed from that when he plays Heroes vs. Villains. So, like, Danielle telling him, hey, you probably fucked up worse, and we don't even really know how you did then, probably. It's such a great moment. But I really want to harp on, because it all. Well, okay, I'll go to that next. Fuck Coach for saying that Sandra rode coattails, because whose coattails did Sandra ride? Sandra spent the entire game trying to get rid of someone and would just vote with the majority when she realized that the heroes weren't going to, be smart, or Candace was going to flip. Russell's he knows he fucked up face during most of Final Tribal. Yes. We get down to the main thing of the heroes versus villains Final Tribal of the Sandra versus Parvati thing. And so for me, it has always been, obviously, winner wins. I don't give a shit what big moves and all of that. I don't care, especially at this point in the show's history, because big moves don't guarantee wins, because who gives a shit? For me, it's always been the stuff that we are not shown on the show, but we are shown during the Micronesia Final Tribal, where Eliza says, Parvati, you are very much a mean girl, and you treat certain people a certain type of way, which has always resonated with me because Eliza. And then you hear stories about how after JT got voted out, Parvati would sit at camp and basically read the JT letter in front of everyone as like a mocking of the heroes, like, hey, fuck you guys, now JT's gone, blah, blah, blah. Parvati says that she played a great social game. And I'm not a Parvati hater. Like she is Mount Rushmore. She is one of this. She is great. For me, it's always bothered me that people just kind of neglect all of this stuff and say, "Oh, but the double idol move at the merge should have got her the win," or whatever. John, just for you personally, as someone who is a Parvati person, just one, do you understand why she lost, and would you have voted for her based off of just the edit? Just the edit. Well, we won't count anything else.
Well, just the edit, yeah, I would have voted for her. The problem, the issue, and this doesn't just go with this season. I could name like 12 seasons. This is the issue, is they don't properly explain how X person won the season. And like, Parvati for me, like, I mean, yes, I do have like blinders on, and like there are certain things that we're not seeing on the show, so like I'm not gonna know that she's reading the letter to JT for whatever, but I also am big in shaming men when they're stupid, so like for me that wouldn't bother me, because he got what he deserved, and he's sitting writing songs with Coach and Courtney and the jury, and so I think that, like, I think Parvati played her best strategic game in Heroes versus Villains. I think you mocked the double idol play, but I think so much went into that because we actually glossed over that. So let me actually back up for a second. It comes down to the challenge, okay? She knows that the heroes want to work with Russell, and she knows they're trying to bluff her into playing an idol for herself. So that leaves 3 people. She has 2 idols in her pocket, and she sees that it's her and Danielle up there. So she steps down. So she knows Danielle is safe, and if they play the 2 idols on the other 2, there's like a 99% chance that it's going to work. And I always was like, I feel like that never like gets like talked about, like the methodical behind it. Like people is like, oh well, she just did whatever. Like no, she played this out from the immunity challenge.
Yeah, it's a damn good move. Yeah, it's a damn good move.
Like it is just like poetic. And yes, maybe she shouldn't have been such like a narc about it, but like at the same time, and I love Sandra. I love Sandra to death. I think she is hilarious. And she's really good at the social as long as it ain't me stuff. But the edit doesn't show. Like, it doesn't do a good job of explaining how she's, like, you know, it does just enough to explain why she beat them. But, like, you see all of this stuff from Parvati. You see everything that Parvati is doing. And, like, they don't weigh it. So, like, as a Parvati fan, especially after watching Australia versus the World, where she ran the whole thing, and she bested the double idol play, in my opinion, as her best move ever, with the bluff that she did. I think that Sandra eventually obviously deserves the win. She won the season. They just need to explain why she won the season better. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
all they really do is explain why Courtney votes for her, and they explain, oh yeah, the heroes just kind of vote for her because they feel basically out of obligation. That's kind of how it feels. It feels like the edit's just saying, oh yeah, they feel
That's
obligated.
what the edit showed.
Yeah, it's what the edit shows. Schaefer, same question. Just same question.
I think to me, just like based on the edit, obviously to me, Parvati should have won. I think what I don't like about what the edit showed was, to me, it showed the reason that Parvati lost was because people were so bitter with Russell, they were holding it against Parvati as well. And that just does not sit well with me. If she lost because she did other stuff or she had bad jury management, I would like to have seen that. Because I'm under the impression now, after watching it, God knows how many times I've watched it, she lost because of Russell. And to me, that's just not fair to her. Like, did she do something else to make them not want to vote for her? Or was the edit showing the truth? Did they not vote for her because she was tied to Russell? Which, again, she really didn't have a choice. She had to tie herself to Russell, or she would have been gone like day 10. So I wish they showed a little more of that. But they're the edit; they can show whatever they want. But it just doesn't. It doesn't do it justice enough, because I feel like they did not show enough of why Sandra deserved to win.
Laura?
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, because when I told someone I was coming on to talk about this season, shout out to my best friend Bevan, I will say that when we debated this exact topic, one of the things that was brought up was that Sandra was able to navigate the game. She was able to get the votes to go a certain way, but she also didn't really have any alliances. So Sandra has a phenomenal skill of adapting to the circumstances while not necessarily tying herself down. I think that you can honestly argue that the start of voting blocks starts with Sandra, because she doesn't tie herself necessarily to anyone. Yeah, she does have a really strong bond with Courtney, but as it was brought up earlier, she knew that she had a buffer in Courtney and that Courtney would go home before her. And she really doesn't give her allegiance to anyone else besides vaguely the heroes who don't actually listen to her. But she still manages to convince Russell and everyone around her, like, hey, I'll probably get 1, maybe 2 votes or something like that, but I didn't really have any alliances, so I probably won't actually get that many votes. And then she ends up beating one of the best Survivor players of all time.
In Parvati.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
okay. But yeah, and that's the thing is, I think no matter where it goes between the two of them, and it does, we see Jerry go up and say she's in between a couple. Courtney talks about how when she goes up and votes for Sandra, Prod basically goes like, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this?" And she was like, "Yeah." Like, what the fuck? Like, of course I want to do this. I think no matter where it goes there, the right person, and not one of these, the right person always wins type thing. But like, I think that they both played the best version of those specific games in this season, knowing full well they're going to end with the ultimate GOAT. I think that with Parvati, I think that the heroes are probably never going to vote for her in that situation. I think that at worst, maybe you swing Amanda, maybe because of your previous relationship. We know Russell's never going to catch any votes. So Sandra really, I feel like, almost always wins in this final 3, because there's never a chance that a hero is going to vote for Parvati here, with the exception of Amanda. Is that a crazy statement to say? Or, and this is not, once again, this is not me being just strictly on what the jury looks like. Do you think there is a way that someone could be swayed? This is an open question.
So I personally don't think so, because what I would say is that Sandra proved to the heroes time and time again by giving them the exact right information at the exact right times, that by the time they were voted out, they were able to corroborate that information with other members on the jury to be like, wow, Sandra was actually right. And that's why Rupert opens with, Sandra, thank you for giving us a chance to even play the game. You know, Sandra was coming to them and saying, Rupert, you know, Colby, everyone,
Hey,
Russell is
Candace
trying
is
to
gonna
take
flip
you
on
out.
y'all. Candace is, and
Yeah.
Colby sitting there saying, "Hey, if something bad goes tonight, it's Candace's fault," and everyone's laughing. It's like, no, but seriously, if Candace, if something bad happens tonight, it's Candace's fault.
Right. Right. But Sandra's able to go to them and say, Russell's actually the one trying to take you out. Russell is just playing you when he's throwing these little temper tantrums and saying, like, oh, I'm not getting my way. Like, these women have to go next and everything. And then it turns out it's one of the heroes yet again. I mean, Russell and Parvati are the ones who are orchestrating these things, and Sandra is actively trying to work against that, but knows that she can't work against it too much without backing. So they're able to go to jury, compare notes, and be like, wow, Sandra was actually telling us the truth. So I would say that's not necessarily a super strong argument that you made, because they're able to compare notes in Ponderosa.
One final thing before we start to wrap up. Y'all probably don't know this, but since season 16, after I finished watching a season, after I finished doing the recap, I spend the night watching the season's Ponderosa videos to like go to bed. And I vividly, like, I haven't watched them today, but I vividly remember the Heroes vs. Villains one when Candace shows up and no one talks to her. Like, they just give her the cold shoulder, and it's one of the only times where someone gets a cold shoulder at Ponderosa where it's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't feel bad for you at all. Because Cass gets it in Kaguyan. It's like, oh, that sucks. Here, it's like, yeah, fuck Candace. Once again, she shouldn't have been on the season, but definitely shouldn't have been on the Heroes. Reunion. Really, the only thing I want to point out is the fact that Russell is sitting there knowing that he's going to lose. The game is flawed. Blah blah blah. The fans vote for him to give another $100,000 to him. But the fans are stupid, so it's fine. Final thoughts on Survivor: Heroes versus Villains. Laura, you ended with it, so we'll start with you, and we'll go Michael and then John. Just final thoughts on Heroes versus Villains.
So I will say, despite me playing devil's advocate, I do agree with Buckley saying that they could have done a better job showing why Sandra won the season. But overall, I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I think it is a phenomenally well done season. I thought the casting, minus Candace, was really good. And I love the different relationships that were not only played upon during the season, but then built upon in later seasons. So this is still my number one favorite season, like my comfort go to. Like, if I'm missing Survivor, I'm gonna watch season 20.
Schaefer?
I mean, it's an iconic season, definitely. Like, if you're listing off like some of the most well-known seasons, it's obviously going to be up there. I still hold my ground. I'm going to stand on what I believe. I don't think this is as great as people think it is, but I definitely understand why people rank it as high as it is. The pre-merge, the beginning of the game through the Rob boot is absolutely flawless. No notes. I think just once that happens, and then the game, just let the game just continue to just crawl by, it just loses a lot of steam and luster there for me. I know I might be alone on that, but it's still up there. It's still a great season, but I just feel like there was a lot more that could have been done with it if the producers had wanted to actually do something with it. Instead, I think they let it linger too long in the pre-merge, and I think that just ended up hurting it in the long term.
Buckley, before we get to you, what is your favorite season?
So my number one is Cagayan, but one of my favorites all time is Philippines.
Okay.
I have both of those above Heroes versus Villains.
And John Buckley.
I definitely think I can say this confidently now after 50 is over. This is going to go down as the greatest all-returning season of Survivor. I don't think there is going to be a contest to it. And if anybody tries to fight me, we could take this
I feel
outside.
like the only thing that people could probably say is second chances, but even then there are editing issues with that. But like, yeah, I'm sorry for cutting you in. It was like, I don't think anyone could ever, yeah.
No, I think second chances. The thing that God, I'm not going to get into this right now. Yeah. But if anything, Heroes versus Villains, I think is like the perfect like storm of a season. Whereas like it's timed perfectly. The casting is 95% perfect. It's and every returning season has that person. I mean, but it's just a masterclass in storytelling, like all throughout. I think the only qualm I have is not showing Sanders game more, but I think it is like a really good season, and it's one of my all-time favorite seasons. And I think that it's just, it's the last breath of the classic era of Survivor, and I think that's why a lot of people, including myself, like put it on that pedestal, because the last time we saw Survivor in like a raw-ish form, I feel like, even though it had idols, it had this, that, and the other, it felt complete in the way that I liked Survivor growing up. It bookended my favorite era of Survivor perfectly. I don't know. I just think overall, yes, Second Chances has better gameplay. I will give it that, but it doesn't hit the same that Heroes versus Villains does, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I just to kind of go off of that, I do. This is and I said this beginning. This is both the jumping of the shark moment and also the bookend of the greatest era in the show's history. Because for me, like Samoa starts this whole the Hans Mania thing, but like this whole the idols are what's most important now. Because even in the seasons that have idols before this, they're a fun little MacGuffin thing, but like the whole storyline doesn't revolve around that. In 19 and 20, it's like, oh man, Russell's finding idols without any clues. It's like, well, Gary Hawkins Hogaboom did that in season 11, but whatever, we kind of just forget that. And in 20, it's like, yeah, Russell's looking for idols, and now fucking Danielle has an idol clue and all this other stuff. As much as I love this season, today was the first day over the last 16 years where it's like, I don't think I like this as much as I always have. And it's still, I'm going to go over my top 20 now that I've done 20 seasons. But just something about it today, it's like, it's the Russell of it all. And it's the new, as fans that have been watching since day one, it's the new era of it all. Of anything post 20, I consider new era, because when people complain about 41 through 50, like, oh, all these new crazy things, like all this stuff started in 21. This isn't like a new thing. We started this in Nicaragua, and you guys just kind of neglected to think about that because COVID convinced you that 1 through 40 is its own little thing, and then 41 through 50 is different. It's like, no, 21 through 50 are when the problems really start, and I'll hop off of my high horse with that. So, from 20 until 1, we've got Thailand at 20. We've got Guatemala, Samoa, Fiji, All-Stars at 16. I like basically anything that's above Thailand is good. It's just Thailand is just Thailand. Okay. All-Stars. Australian Outback is 15. Palau, Borneo, Africa, Gabon. Top 10 is Panama, Cook Islands, Amazon. 7 is China. 6 is Marquesas. 5 is Vanuatu, 4 is Tocantins, 3 is Micronesia, 2 is Heroes versus Villains, and number 1, for the first time in my life, is Pearl Islands. And we will see how that changes over the next 30 days. Over the next 30 days. But that's where I'm at. Heroes versus Villains will always be one of the greatest seasons of all time, but the Russell Hanson of it all. Last two questions for everyone. One, who would your ally be this season?
Oof. You know what? I'll say Danielle. She was loyal to who she was with, and she just got stabbed in the back by a moron.
Yeah, that's true. Laura?
You know what? I'll say Suri. You can't go wrong with Suri. Like, if you have her loyalty, she's got your back.
I think I'm gonna go with Jerry Manthe. I love Jerry. I love her to death.
I feel like the easy answer will be Russell, but it's like, do I think I can live with this lunatic for 39 days? And the answer is no. So I'd probably say Courtney Yates, so we can like have fun and laugh at people because it's fun. And final question, Laura, something that the modern day fandom would not like about heroes versus villains.
Russell Hantz.
Okay. Michael Schaefer.
Oh, that was an easy layup answer. I would say Randy, but Randy wasn't around that much this season. Like we didn't get the full Randy this season as we got in
I wanted the full Randy experience. I needed it among these people.
I would say maybe Sandra ripping off Sugar's top. Like I don't think something like that would fly now.
Okay, that's good. And John?
I just think it's the long pre-merge without a swap. I think people would get antsy over. They're not used to a pre-merge lasting 5 episodes only.
I think that might be the second or third day in a row where the last person I ask takes my answer. Because I agree with you. I think that the modern day fandom would, why are they not swapping? Why don't we get to see these people interact with each other? Why is the pre-merge going on for so long? Because the merge was only like the last 6 hours today. And it is what it is. Laura and Michael Schaefer specifically, thank you both for hopping on. I really appreciated. I know this didn't end up being the longest. Marquesas is still the longest by about 15-ish minutes. But thank you both. And Laura, thank you so much for hopping back in. I know you said you lost your power. John Buckley, thank you specifically because you were the first person I did this with 4 years ago. I really, you were basically the top of the list of people I wanted back for this. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. All three of you, as I know, are like super fans. So I'm glad you were able to talk about this monumental season. And it's basically all downhill until June 28th for me. But I hope to have you all back for day 50 where I do the live stream. Does anyone need to shill anything, any games casting or anything like that?
I mean, we're not casting, but Animation Winners Award just started today. It's our final season. If you want to go ahead and join the page, that'd be fun. That's all I'm going to plug for this.
Anyone else?
I don't have anything to plug necessarily, but we will be doing the 20th season of Coast to Coast Survivor this summer, fallish. We're not announcing what it's going to be. We haven't announced yet when it's going to be. Just know it's going to be a batty ass time. That's all I'm going to say. And there will be returning players. That's all I'm going to say.
Heroes vs. Villains.
It's not Heroes vs. Villains. It is not. Dispel the rumors. It is not Legends. I'm going to go on record. It is not a Legends season. It is not a winner season. It is not Heroes versus Villains. It is none of that. I hear people ask me that all the time. I'm here to clear.
I was just joking.
Oh no! I know, but I'm taking this moment for myself.
To answer the question, June 28th is the last day of the marathon. It'll be the day that I watch season 50, and I do a live stream the entire day, which will be about 17 and a half hours because 90-minute episodes. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you to everyone that's been messaging me on all the social medias. I really appreciate it. I know I'm going through a dark period right now, so please bear with me if I come off as very tired over the next week or two. I'm really trying to push through this. Thank you to everyone in the panel, and we will see you tomorrow night for Survivor Nicaragua.